Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So it's that time of year. Our plants are really coming along really nicely. The weather's starting to improve and it's time to start thinking about hardening off those plants. So in today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how we harden our plants off and the little tips and tricks that I've got that can help you make your plants be strong and ready for the season. Some of the new gardeners nowadays say that it's not worth hardening plants off, but I grow a lot of tender plants, a lot of chilies, a lot of aubergines, a lot of tomatoes, and a lot of quite tropical plants. Because I grow a lot of tropical plants, and anyone else who grows a lot of tropical plants will need to really take care of the way they prepare those plants to go out into the garden. Just like this one here. I mean, this is a hyacinth bean. It's not very hardy. It's one that is it is from a tropical climate. It does need hardening off properly before you can get it outside. With this bean plant, what we've been doing with it, because it's quite a mature plant, it's quite an old plant, what we've been doing with this is anytime we've had a bit of sun, we've been bringing this out of the house and getting it into the sun and exposing it to that sun as much as possible. We'll actually plant this one out into the greenhouse today. We've got loads of tomatoes here, we've got some more hyacinth beans, and these are all moving out into the greenhouse. There's a couple of tomatoes. Now, what you might notice on these tomatoes is there's a little bit of what you call sun scorch. So this is because they've been just sat in the window and it's been a really sunny day. So yesterday we had a really sunny day. The sun was beating through that window, and our window's south facing. They were just left there. It's got a little bit of sun scorch. It's nothing to worry about. As the plant grows a little bit longer, these leaves, you can forget about them. So most of that's going to be buried under the ground anyway. So don't worry about it. Sun scorch is not a problem. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we go and harden plants off, is because we want the plants to be ready to be acclimatized to the extreme sun that we might get in the summer. We want them to be acclimatized to the wind and the rain and all of that sort of weather. We want to make sure that the plants are strong and ready to go outside before we put them outside and make it outside the permanent homes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start transferring things from the house, because we've got so much stuff going on in the house. I'm going to transfer them from the house into the greenhouse, and that's one of our aims today. So a lot of these tomatoes, they've been growing in the house, but now I think it's time to get these tomatoes into the greenhouse. They're going to stay out here for a little bit of sun and natural daylight, and then later on this evening, as the evening sets in, we'll take them into the greenhouse. April can still be quite a bit of a funny month. You can still get snow, you can still get frost coming down quite heavily. So just be careful if you're moving things from slightly tender from inside to outside. Now, what I've got over here is, these are the potato buckets that I've been planting over the course of winter. So since January, I've been planting a couple of potato buckets in the greenhouse, and I've been overwintering them in here. And you can see how big the plants are. These are no longer going to have space in my greenhouse because I'm bringing the other stuff in. These are getting kicked out. And from the lifting of them, they could do with a bit of a water actually. But I'm not going to move them far. I'm just going to keep them here, because if it does get frosty, then I want to be able to whip them back inside, or I want to be able to cover them up. So I want them somewhere that I can give them a little bit of protection. So everyone makes mistakes. We had a really severe frost last week. I put one of my potato buckets outside because I thought we had some nice weather, and I forgot to get it back into the greenhouse. And this is the state of the foliage. You can see the frost burn on the leaves. But I'm not too worried, to be honest with you. So what's happened is we've got a little bit of frost damage on the leaves, and those plants will actually recover. So I'm not too worried about that. In the greenhouse, we've still got some Calvinero kale, or black Tuscany, and my winter plants are just sort of coming to an end. So I've got loads of coriander back here, and I've even planted out a few tomatoes. And I'm quite encouraged by these tomatoes because I planted them out just before that quite hard frost that I mentioned. I planted them out and I left them as an experiment in the greenhouse, and they've all seemed to have got through that hard frost without too much damage. So watching the way they've behaved, that's given me quite a bit of encouragement. I'm going to move all my tomatoes from in the house into the greenhouse today and leave them out here and let them settle in. So that hyacinth bean, because I'm quite confident of the way I've hardened it off, that one's getting planted out. And it's just going to go here. See, at the moment there's a method to the madness in how I plant tall plants in my greenhouse. So this is the side that gets the least amount of sun. There's a massive hedge on that side. So north is sort of that angle, but there's a massive hedge on that side, so it gets the least amount of sun. So what I'm doing is I'm planting the tall plants at the back here, so it doesn't block sun coming in. So later on in the year, what I'll do is I'll plant tall plants on this side, and they'll block light coming in, and they'll block and they'll give a bit of shade and keep it a little bit cooler. Right now, because I want to maximize light, the tall plants are going on this side. Khadija, can you pass me a tall stick, Baba? Couple more.
How much more?
Look, this is actually a bamboo cane that I've grown myself. Look, it's one that I grew myself. We've used it last year and we'll get a couple more years out of it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to start growing a lot of our canes and stuff ourselves now. And it's important to get your supports in as soon as the plant's in, and that way you're not stabbing into the roots of an established plants. Thank you. Thanks very much. That'll do it. There's only 2 plants, so let's just put one there, and we're in. And the way I've been hardening that plant off is in the morning I bring it out and I choose a day like this when it's not really sunny, when it's not really overcast either. We've had sunny spells, so we've had spells of when it's been a little bit sunny, a little bit cloudy, and it's been a nice moderate day. And these are the days that are perfect for these are the days that are perfect for hardening plants off, because they're not getting exposed to extreme weather straight away. They've been protected in the house for a very long time. We're moving them from that environment into a greenhouse, which on a night is going to be a little bit colder than in your house, and some plants are moving outside, so it's going to be a little bit colder out there for them as well. The whole point of this hardening off process is to make sure that the plants are acclimatized properly to being outside, and we'll do that. We'll do that over the next couple of weeks, and by the middle of May, all the plants will be really nice and solid and established, and be ready to start moving outside and into the final positions. And some will be a little bit behind, and we'll keep going like that. So I mean, even in the greenhouse we've got lots of lettuces and stuff in tubs. We'll transplant some of these as well, I think. So my really tender plants, things like, my really precious plants, things like my bottle gourds and things like my naga chilies. I mean, there's loads of nagas on my windowsill over there. You can see how they're coming along, absolutely gorgeous. So things like them, they're going to stay in the house for a good, at least till the end of April. Maybe mid-May I'll start transitioning these outside into the garden, into the greenhouse, and then we'll think about when we're going to plant them out in about June. So another thing to be doing now is where you've got plants like this that are getting a little bit tall and the soil levels dropped quite a bit, is to fill these up with soil. And just on my front door I've got my compost and my potting up station. So when I do a lot of potting up out here, so let's get these topped up with soil, and these will be okay in these pots like this for a good while longer if we can, because this is just gonna give them an additional boost of food. So there you go, that's a little bit about how I harden off my plants before I plant them outside. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe on this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.